You're watching the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Today's show, we're breaking down some Cowboys training camp winners and some Cowboys training camp losers. Now, it's early. Things can and will change, but I think there are some trends emerging already. We won the like battle against the Raiders Report. We blew them out of the water. Very early. It's like one video each, basically. We are losing the like battle against the Raiders Report this month. Now, they've got preseason games too. It's going to be a higher level of competition. Let's start making up ground and beat them again. Hit that like button, as you should do for every single video here on the Cowboys Report. First up, training camp winner is Tyler Guyton. Look, there probably will be some down days to come out of Guyton, but so far, I've been pretty impressed. I think there's a little bit less rawness and technique work that was needed from Guyton than what we saw at Oklahoma, which I think, as an aside, by the way, I will forever love Duke Manyweather. The Cowboys, he's the secret actual Cowboys offensive line coach. He did it with Tyler Smith. He did it with Tyler Guyton. The Cowboys have, potentially, on Guyton at least, we'll not get ahead of our skis too much there, have potentially drafted a highly athletic, highly motivated offensive lineman who needs some technique work and said, Duke, fix him. And then Duke makes it work. And just like that, they kind of hit the ground running at a better rate than expected. So early vibes have been really good for Guyton. He got the first team reps with the Cowboys at their mock game. I hope that continues because he's actually held his own against Micah Parsons. Like, he has actually looked pretty good against, I think, the most dominant players so far at Cowboys training camp. That's Micah. There are others who have looked really good as well, by the way. We'll get to them here in a little bit. But Micah was cooking Juanyeh. Like, every rep, it was, especially on Wednesday, every rep was just like, I beat you, I beat you, I beat you. There was one rep he lost on Tuesday that kind of went viral of like, wow, Udoka. But it was actually a terrible rep from Udoka. He hit him hands to the face and tripped him. It's like, that's not a rep win. People were freaking out. I'm like, no, guys. Micah won that rep. There were 2 flags on the play. What are you guys talking about? Micah looks like Micah. I am hopeful. Again, it's August, so we'll emphasize hopefulness here. This is I think Zimmer can get a little bit more out of Micah. I think moving him around, as long as he's moving forward, where exactly Micah comes from, I think should be a little bit more unclear and more disguised. You can play him some off-ball linebacker reps. You can blitz him. You can put him over the A-gap. You can put him as kind of like that Sam linebacker where like it's basically indistinguishable from a 3-4 outside linebacker to a 4-3 Sam, right? It looks like it's DeMarcus Ware out there alongside one of your defensive ends. And that might be Tank Lawrence too. And you can overload stuff and get single matchups and do all kinds of fun, creative things there. So how many sacks for Micah Parsons this year? We'll put the over-under at 14, which would be a career high. O for over, U for under. It is the pinned comment on today's show. The ad comes on YouTube. Take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. I'm going to give some love to Daron Bland. Now, he's not going to have as many pick sixes this year. Let's get that out of the way. 0 chance. The haters and losers on the internet will tell you, Daron Bland allowed a bunch of yards. No, he didn't. It was under 700 yards. They just only watched the Seahawks game. You can call it what it was there. I would bet that the yards and the interceptions and maybe the pass breakups drop a little bit for Bland. But especially with CeeDee Lamb out there, the Cowboys offense in camp hasn't really had much success going at him. And that's a good thing. They've kind of had to ignore Bland a little bit because it's just not a fair matchup. Those guys are not going to be able to hang with him, who's still very much underrated in the NFL. So I like what I've seen from Bland. I like what I've seen from Jordan Lewis, by the way, and Caelen Carson. This has been said many a time before by people smarter than me, so I will repeat it. What you're looking for in training camp is not just like 1 day or 2 days of good stuff. It's multiple days. Couple days in a row of, hey, this guy had himself a strong day. He played pretty well. Caelen Carson is one of those players. If I had to peg the order right now, I think he'd be your 4th corner. Now, he's worked basically exclusively on the outside, which is not necessarily a bad thing, by the way. So I think, God forbid something happens injury-wise, I think Carson's the first guy up for you. And then you'll figure out nickel, whatever. If it's Lewis that goes down, you probably kick Bland back inside. I am excited about Caelen Carson. I think there's been a lot of positive things that we've seen so far. that I think bode well for him as a potential still. It is August after all, day 3 steal. Today's show is made possible by Game Time. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets to MLB games, NFL games, college football, NBA, whatever it is when NBA comes back, of course. Concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Game Time has you covered. Always keep an eye out for their zone deals. You pick the section, Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings along the way. Your purchase is covered, by the way, with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. You can also have to 60% by buying last-minute tickets for whatever your next event is. So download the Game Time app, create your account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply, but again, create your account and redeem code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. The link in the promo code will be in the comments and the description for last-minute tickets at the lowest price, all guaranteed. Overall, I think your linebackers are in a better spot, health-wise, as long as Kendricks is okay with that minor back issue. I think Damone Clark is having a better camp, too. And I think at least part of this comes down to what is being asked out of Clark. This is no longer, hey, you got to be the number one. You are now the number one linebacker. You got to identify stuff. And when there's a lot on your plate, sometimes you don't get to everything or you don't maximize things the way that you want to. When you take some of that stuff off your plate and you make life easier on a player that doesn't seem to have all the same level of interest or level of impact, I think at that point you're going to have a better player. So I think having a chance for things just to be made easier on Damone Clark will result in more impact than what we've seen previously. Better impact. All right, next up is wide receiver Jalen Tolbert. Now, Tolbert, I think, is pretty clearly locked in to the number 3 wide receiver spot. Now, we'll see how that all plays out, and maybe there's a chance he regresses, whatever, but Tolbert is primed to have, I think, that number 3 spot set up. He's had several good days in a row. I think it's a very promising sign for him with where things currently sit in terms of the depth chart, because you don't have, CeeDee Lamb out there. That means more reps for Tolbert, and for other guys we'll get to here in a little bit. But I think we've seen better stuff from Tolbert and more consistent stuff. Now, it's early. It's like two padded practices. Got to have more of it moving forward. I want you guys to name a Cowboys training camp winner so far. Who is that winner for you? You can go a lot of different routes in the end, but drop that player name for me in the comments of today's show. Let's go to another wide receiver. That is Tyron Billy-Johnson, who, of note here, I think a couple of the guys that we will discuss here overall at wide receiver, the slight trend has been some speed in their favor, which I think does matter because you need to have some speed. I don't know if he's going to make the roster. Jalen Brooks has been fine, but I feel like he's your receiver 5/6 with Turpin and Tolbert in there. I don't know if they're going to carry 7, so that just kind of makes things curious to me, and I'm interested to see how it all plays out, who makes the practice squad, etc. Some other wide receivers I do want to give some love to: Brandon Cooks, David Durden, Racey McMath, Kevontae Turpin. 4 receivers who have made impactful plays. McMath, I think, is a sleeper. He has great size and speed, special team stuff, but needs work as an overall player. David Durden, the Cowboys like last year. Turpin's getting some run at wide receiver, by the way. Or at receiver in the backfield, and some gadget package, I think, is a good thing for him. All right, next up is Brock Hoffman, the center for the Dallas Cowboys. As things sit right now, and again, it is early, I would wager that Brock Hoffman's going to start week 1 at center. And I don't mean that to be a slight at anybody, but I do think that is the the trend we are about to hit here. That Hoffman, who this coaching staff likes a lot, is gotten on the work with the ones. He's primed to be your top option. Next up is Israel Mukuamu. Look, I will admit it. I just can't quit him. I can't do it. I can't get past him. I still think he can be a good football player. I still think he can be an impactful option, a good depth piece, a core special teamer. So I don't want to quit him. I just can't in the end. And he had 2 great interceptions on Wednesday. They were just good plays. He was just winning, basically, is the best way I can describe it. So I can't give it up. Even though, make no mistake, he is not a lock for the Cowboys roster. So does Israel Mukuamu make the Cowboys roster? Y for yes, N for no. Get those predictions in where else but in the comment section of today's show. Next up is Juanyeh Thomas. The safeties, I feel good about this safety room. I think it is a good batch of players. And I think Juanyeh Thomas is trying to force his way onto not just the 53-man roster, but also onto the starting lineup. Like, this is a player that Mike McCarthy has praised, that others have praised, that makes impactful opportunities. Marquise Bell had a nice interception, by the way. I think you go 4 deep at safety, 5 depending on where you count Israel Mukuamu. If he's a safety or a nickel or an outside corner, whatever. I kind of like a lot of your pieces. And I think Thomas continued a good offseason that's carried through to training camp as well. Now, for more Cowboys camp coverage, simply subscribe. Do not miss out. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV for more free Cowboys YouTube videos. Look, in life, folks, there are winners and there are losers, and we just have to accept that. First up on the Cowboys training camp losers is Trey Lance. Now, I'll mention this too. It's not over. Things can change. Just because someone's a loser now or a winner now doesn't mean they will be week 1. But I am concerned here. I have not seen great impact. I have seen too many mistakes. I have not seen comfort. I have seen just missing guys over the middle. I've seen a bit of a lack of confidence as well. I am worried a bit about him. I don't know how. He's not taking Dak Prescott's job this year. That's not in the cards. I don't know if he's going to take Cooper Rush's job with what I've seen so far. So until that changes, that's a big question mark for me. So what is your concern level over Trey Lance? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1 on the low end, 10 on the high end. Let me know in the comments. Eric Scott is next up here. Look, I want him to be good. I want to make that clear. I'm not rooting for anybody to fail, but how many times, how many clips have you seen? Hey, nice play by Eric Scott this camp. Have we seen any of them? Maybe 1 or 2? Like that's my question mark. Like, can Eric Scott impact those things? Like, can he show up and make a bunch of impactful plays? Can he be a piece for this Cowboys team? And if you're not showing in camp, boy, you better show it in the preseason. And right now, I don't know if we're going to see those things. I truly don't. So I have to question if it's ever going to appear for Eric Scott, because his buddy's gone, so to speak. His sponsor's gone. Somebody's got to emerge there. Next up on the losers, we'll go a bit quicker here. Cooper Beebe. Look, we mentioned Brock Hoffman. I think Beebe is far more in line to be the backup offensive lineman. And not start week 1 at center. I think there is opportunities here for him to still emerge long term, but I think the learning curve was a little bit steeper than previously thought. So name a Cowboys training camp loser for me. Be mean. It is okay. Be mean. Drop that loser for me in the comments of today's show. All right, next up is Junior Fayoko. Again, this kind of falls in the Eric Scott category, right? Where's the impacts? Not many highlight reel plays mentioned. Not many, like, he looks good type of deal stuff, right? Sponsor's gone. I need impact. I don't have the high-end impactful guys to justify a redshirt year guy. Like, I don't have it. I need impactful players. I need guys that can contribute to me. So Fayoko's going to get his chance. He will have chances. But so far, a little bit quiet. Final training camp loser here, Sam Williams, the defensive. And this one's kind of a no-brainer. And I will be very clear. I feel bad for him. Like, I feel bad for Sam Williams. It's brutal. This isn't what I wanted to see happen for him. Like, I wanted him to be out there and make an impact. Hasn't happened yet. So now we have to wait. See, okay, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? Will it emerge? Will it not emerge? Like, all of those things are giant question marks with where things sit for Sam Williams at this time. So hopefully he bounces back next year, but this year, easily a loser.